Thank you, sir. Please state your full name and date of birth.
Aiden John Perez.
And I have a couple of attorneys here. You want to announce, please?
Yes. Good afternoon or good evening, judges. This is Chris Califano on behalf of Mr. Perez.
George Kellerman from the Maricopa County Attorney's Office. Good evening, Your Honor.
Sorry to cut you off, George.
No problem.
Did I have anyone else here? Okay. The reason I ask is because I have two notices of appearance. I have a Parzich here as well. Mr. Parzich is supposed to be part of this as well.
No, Judge, Mr. Parzich and I are co-counseling, and I think that was mentioned in the notice of appearance, but he's not going to be present for this evening's hearing.
Okay. Mr. Califano, correct me if I'm wrong, but are you with the Legal Defender's Office?
No, Your Honor, I'm in private practice. Mr. Parzich, I think, works part-time there.
Okay. I just wondered because when I pulled your name up with the bar number, it came up with the Legal Defender.
I'm not sure why that is, but I promise it's not that way.
Okay. All right, then. Just to give you also a heads up, and I'm sorry for delaying your hearing, but we cannot at this time put both counsel on here, so I do have you as the primary counsel. We will remember to send both of you the information, but when you go to the next court date, you might want to ask them if they can include both of you on these notices and include you once you get a CR number, the co-counsels, okay?
No problem.
All right. Okay, Mr. Perez, you are here on a new Superior Court case where they are alleging actually two counts of discharging a firearm at a residence. That's Class 2 felonies. 2 counts of endangerment. Those are Class 6 felonies. And 2 counts of discharging a firearm in city limits. Those are Class 6 felonies. You are not going to have an attorney appointed. It looks like you have hired Mr. Califano and Mr. Parzich. So they will be representing you in this case. You are going to have court. Your next court date is going to be a status conference on September 30th at 8:30 a.m. You'll have a preliminary hearing on October 3rd at 8:30 a.m. As to bond or release conditions, Mr. Kellerman, did you want to be heard?
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you. According to the information in the police form 4, the state police, Mr. Perez, shows an absolute disregard for the value of human life and is an extreme danger within the community. According to the facts of the Form 4, at 2 times in the middle of the night at 3 a.m. and 4 a.m., miles from where he resides, he drove by and fired multiple shots, striking 2 occupied residences. One residence had 2 adults in it and an 8-year-old child. The state believes that a bond of no less than $150,000 is warranted. The state does not object to that being secured appearance. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kellerman. And before you go, Mr. Califano, I do want to state that I did receive a victim impact statement from the family that has the 8-year-old child, and I have reviewed it as part of any decision I'm going to make. Mr. Califano?
Judge, I haven't reviewed that. I haven't had the opportunity to, no one sent me that victim impact statement. Can the court summarize it for me?
Commissioner, I can forward to him right now. It was the last minute statement.
It was a last minute and it was just added. The clerk said she'll forward it to you right now. But
Okay.
basically they have asked that he be denied any bond. They are still suffering from the fear and their child being afraid to be at home in their own house. So they definitely do not want the defendant released.
Okay.
That's the gist.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut the cord off.
I'm sorry, I just was saying that's the gist of what they've stated.
Thank you, Judge.
So do you want to be heard?
Yes, please. So regarding the release conditions for Mr. Perez, the defense disagrees vehemently with the state regarding their statement that Mr. Perez doesn't value human life. Quite the contrary. This gentleman has no felony convictions. This incident happened, according to the Form 4, 7 months ago approximately. Since then, Mr. Perez has had no subsequent arrests or charges or citations. Since this incident, Mr. Perez has been working full-time as an electrician's apprentice, and he's been going to school to become an electrician. He's also taken his mental health more seriously and has been enrolled in therapy, and his therapist recently, because of recent stability, has downgraded the quantity of sessions that he's recommending Mr. Perez take. Since this incident has occurred, Mr. Perez has known he's been being investigated. He's been known that for 6 to 7 months, and instead of running away or doing something to escape the law, he's hired attorneys who have been communicating with the detectives, and Mr. Perez has voluntarily self-surrendered. That's why the arrest shows it was at Glendale Police Department today. He voluntarily turned himself in, so there's no flight risk. And I disagree with the state about him not caring about human life, given his abstinence from criminal conduct over the last at least 6 to 7 months. And so regarding those release conditions, Judge, we're asking the court to impose the least onerous forms of release, specifically pretrial services with ankle monitoring. We think that will do sufficient justice to keep, or sufficient job of keeping account of Mr. Perez while still allowing him to go to school and work. If the court disagrees, then we would ask for the least onerous bond.
Thank you, Mr. Califano and Mr. Kellerman. I have very serious concerns with this defendant's value of life. The fact that there were multiple homes shot at, the fact that there were children in the home, the fact that this was in the middle of the night where it's more than likely that people will actually be in the house, all of that causes me serious concerns. I appreciate that this happened 7 months ago, but that does not in any way downgrade the seriousness of what occurred. I agree with the victim in this case that it would be very difficult to sit there and try to make your child feel comfortable in a home when they were laying there sleeping and all of a sudden there's bullets coming through. The information in the Form 4 where it indicates that the bullets occurred, anyone could have been standing in those locations and been shot. Your defendant is actually, and I'm sorry, I should be talking to you, Mr. Perez, but you are very, very lucky that there was nobody that happened to actually need to get up in the middle of the night, because you could be facing a murder charge instead. So I'm really not seeing that you do value life. For that reason, I do believe a high bond is appropriate. I'm going with a $200,000 bond, and you are not allowed to return to the scene of the alleged crime or have contact with any of your alleged victims. It appears that there's also a co-defendant in this case, which I don't know the name of, but I'm assuming you do. You are not allowed to have any contact with that person at all as well. Understood?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Are there any questions from Mr. Kellerman or Mr. Califano in this case?
Not from the state, Your Honor. Thank you.
Judge, regarding that bond, I presume that's secured appearance?
That is a secured appearance bond, yes.
Okay. Thank you, Judge. And then if he's released, he won't be on pretrial services if he posts the bond. Is that right?
No, he will not be on pretrial services if he posts. He just needs to post.
Okay. Thank you, Judge.
You're welcome. Have a good night, both of you.
Thank you.
Do you have any questions? I'm sorry, before you leave, Mr. Califano, do you have any questions, Mr. Perez?
No, I
Okay.
don't.
And Aiden, you have my phone number, Aiden, so call me if you have questions.
Okay.
All right. Good luck, sir. Mr. Williams? State your full name and date of birth for me, please, sir.
There's DeAndre Williams.
Okay, Mr. Williams, actually, did I have an attorney here that wanted to announce?
George Kellerman from the Maricopa County Attorney's Office. Good evening, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Kellerman. Mr. Williams, you are here on a new Superior Court case where they are alleging 1 count of drive-by shooting, that's a Class 2 felony, 1 count of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon or dangerous instrument, a Class 3 felony, 1 count of possession of a weapon by a prohibited person, that's a Class 4 felony, 1 count of possession of narcotic drugs, that's a Class 4 felony, 1 count of possession of dangerous drugs, a Class 4 felony, 1 count of discharging a firearm in city limits, a Class 6 felony, and 1 count of disorderly conduct with a weapon or instrument, that's a Class 6 felony. Based on the information that you provided to pretrial services, they determined that you're not indigent. That means you're going to have to hire your own attorney. If you believe that that information is wrong and that you cannot afford an attorney, you need to provide additional information at your next court date as to why one should be appointed for you, okay?
Okay.
Your next court date is going to be a status conference on September 30th at 8:30 a.m. You'll have a preliminary hearing on October 3rd at 8:30 a.m. Mr. Kellerman, did you want to be heard as to bond in this case, bond or release?
Yes, Your Honor, thank you. The state believes that Mr. Williams merits a bond no less than Mr. Perez, if not in fact significantly higher. And the reasons are that unlike Mr. Perez, Mr. Williams has 4 prior felony convictions. He was on probation at the time. He was a prohibited possessor, was not even supposed to be in possession of a firearm, and nevertheless fired his weapon multiple times at a QT in the direction of multiple victims. So the state's requesting that, in accordance with its written recommendation that had been previously submitted, that his bond be no less than $200,000. The state does not object to that being secured appearance. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kellerman. Mr. Williams, you have the opportunity to speak in regards to, and I'm going to say this, in regards only to the bond conditions. I don't want to hear anything about the underlying charge. You either are going to hire an attorney or we'll have one appointed for you at some point, and either one of them would tell you, do not speak to the underlying charges, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, you don't have to speak, but if you wanted to say something in regards to the bond situation, you can.
I would like to speak, ma'am.
Okay.
In light of my situation, I do understand that the charges are serious. I just want you to understand that I'm aware and I'm taking responsibility, and I know that the actions are serious. On the flip side, I also have a wife and 4 children that I take care of. I do work full time. I'm like the sole provider for my family, so I would like to at least have a reasonable bond to make. If you're not inclined to, release me on pretrial services, I would at least like to have an opportunity if I can make bond. $200,000 is excessive for me and my family. There would be absolutely no way.
Okay. While I respect that, Mr. Williams, I do have very serious concerns. The fact that you were shooting indiscriminately at anyone in that area. There's too many people around a QT, okay? Anybody could have been shot, in addition to the person that you were shooting at or around. The fact that this occurred a little over a week ago, there's been nothing where you've tried to turn yourself in or deal with this on your own. The fact that you're on probation, I have concerns as well. So
I'm not on probation, ma'am.
You're not on probation?
No.
Okay. I do see that you have multiple felonies, and I saw that at least 2 of them, no, 1 of them, was a violent felony. Actually, I see 2 violent felonies. So for that reason, I am going to set the bond at $200,000. I am going to make that secure. I'm not going to give you pretrial services afterwards, so if you're able to post, it is just posting the bond. But this is very serious charges, and I do believe a higher bond is appropriate in this case, okay? If you're able to post that bond, you are not allowed to return to the scene of the alleged crime or have contact with any of the alleged victims in this case. Do you have any questions, sir?
No, ma'am.
Good luck, sir.